events before and after. I would really highly recommend that we stick with the ICC, this kind of venue, instead of, I remember at the time we were using local organizing committees. And I remember this particular one, I've got a vivid picture of us meeting in tents, and it was raining, walking in mud, and the logistic, it was a nightmare. And what I was going to request to EXCO to do is to contain costs, but let's not compromise on professionalism. That's really what I would like to suggest.
Thank you very much. I think I have the answer from the room, from the floor. I think that we need to produce the report in a more formal way than we're producing it right now. And we will release it to the community, and we will have that engagement within the structure of 2 points. Number one, that we pay attention to the concerns, but we're acknowledging that some of them are not practical, such as walking through the mud. And the other ones where we can cut costs because the concern for all of us, we will address those. And if you really don't want bags, we won't give you bags. And if you really don't want food, we won't give you food either. And the last gala dinner tonight. Thank you very much for your time. Colleagues, I'd like to finish. Saving the best for last is wonderful, but not when you have an hour before lunchtime and you have to compete with lunch. And there's still a lovely conversation about finances to be had. Colleagues, we have done the roadshow, we haven't completed the roadshow, and we still need to write that report. We completed the roadshow 4 weeks ago. We did IFLA, we came to conference, so we need to complete the report. We have reported back to you this week. The bottom line is we discovered the branch structures do not work. And that is despite the passion and efforts of many dedicated LIASA members, and we acknowledge that. It is not their shortcoming. The system doesn't work for us in the 21st century. I'm going to tipple through these because you are familiar with them. And on the roadshows we found people don't know about LIASA. How can you not know about LIASA? There's something wrong with the way the information is going or not going at national. We are assuming that things are happening, but they're not really happening until we go to a roadshow and we find out these things. We know that the students need attention. We know that we need to change. It is an inevitability of life. We know that the challenges of distance that we spoke about before remain a barrier to progress. Professional development is absolutely crucial. LIASA is a professional body. And as such, it behoves us to ensure every aspect of every LIS practitioner's professional life is focused towards professional development. And ironically, CDP makes it easier, not harder. Therefore, we need to focus on that and actively engage the sector and continuously raise the profile of LIASA, as I've said before. We know what the issues are. Employers do not pay attention to us. They value us less. A directorate in LIS earns more than a director in engineering, for example, in a municipality. And cost containment costs that get us to stay in 3-star hotels that cost 2,000 Rand when a 5-star hotel right on the doorstep of the conference center costs 1,500 Rand is just stupid. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that in this capacity, but it is just not common sense. And so these are the challenges that prevent us from moving forward as aspects and as people engaged in professional development. We've spoken about the dysfunctionality. And it's not only the dysfunctionality of the branches and regions, I see branches and interest groups. Colleagues, we propose that we renovate, we re-energize, we renew, we reform through the butterfly effect, the regional structures. We undergo a metamorphosis. I've never thought about this before, but a metamorphosis is not painful, but change is not without pain. So let us not fool ourselves about what lies ahead of us, but let us be confident that out of this comes a butterfly. We use the coordinators in the LIASA office, but more importantly than this, very briefly I want to speak about the people in waiting. The chair elects, the branch convener elects, the interest group elects. There are so many powerful, passionate people out there waiting to take up their turn. Our message to you is that we have a role for you. But we're asking that the structure within which you place yourself, that you reconsider that position, because it is not nourishing you. It is not nourishing LIASA. It is not nourishing the profession. And it would be criminal of us to allow this to happen and not say anything. We have spoken about the importance of marketing. You are familiar with this model. You yourselves agreed to this model at AGM 2018 last year. Everything except the question marks, that we would align with the King 4 principles of good governance. This was an AGM decision last year, and we were tasked with the question marks, what happens next, and what our roadshow showed. We went across the country. Unfortunately, there isn't time to make poor jokes about it, but I will reserve that right for another time. We presented to the meeting yesterday. There was concerns about the board and about power bases and about clicks, and we assure you that as long as LIASA retains and aligns with the principles of good governance, that this cannot happen. That the board will be democratically and inclusively, though those words sound familiar to you, elected and rotated as is required. The EXCO cringes sometimes when I talk, but on the roadshow I said there's no Zondo commission for LIASA. Zondo has no reason to look for LIASA. The formal processes will be in place. And that we have skilled, knowledgeable, representative, but competent people on the board, as well as a company secretary and or a compliance manager. So that is not translating very well, but in the secretariat we will have functions that cover administration, HR, ICT, finance, PR, marketing, lobbying, as well as the CPD functions required by the professional body status. Are these batteries flat perhaps? I'm not moving as fast as I'd like to. And then there's the issue of coordinators. It's one of the lesser aspects of the concept model that we are putting in front of you. But what we learned from the roadshow was what happens next, the question marks that you mandated us to find out. And it is our recommendation that we work with hubs of excellence, that we reform and we reshape the current structure into opportunities where everybody can engage. One of the messages of the roadshow was that the structure keeps people out. So we speak with two tongues when we say we want people to be engaged. You engage on a horizontal level with your type of library or type of sector. You engage on a vertical level and cross-pollinate whatever other hubs of excellence are in your region. And then you have the opportunity to work on a multidimensional plane and engage with anyone you like who has some kind of interest and innovation or interest to you in the LIS sector. And colleagues, this is what we want. We want your direction and your approval that we can move forward with this model. We are very well aware of the constitutional requirements. We are not proposing that we break the Constitution anyway. In order to change something, we need AGM approval, and that requires a motion at the minimum 3 months before conference. 2 months before conference, the electoral officer tells us. Nevertheless, colleagues, we can't wait until July, August next year. So we seek your permission to create a proof of concept. For those of you, you all know the term. We're testing feasibility. This is what we're asking. Give us the go-ahead to do the feasibility studies, to figure out the bits about how it's going to happen. This is what people were asking us. And to test our assumption, our assertion that nobody will be left behind, and that in fact we will use you even more than we can now in this broken defunct structure. May I please have your input? Or would you like me to make a proposal? Claire, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at that diagram, which I have been puzzling about ever since you put it up a couple of days ago, I realize what this does, I think. It's not that I'm against restructuring, far from it, but I've just been looking at what might happen. And it seems to me that what might happen with this new structure, with your hubs of excellence, your communities of practice, the active and passionate involvement of the students you said you met on the roadshow, it seems to me, speaking as a very old librarian who's no longer in practice, that you are actually proposing a way of moving the whole profession and professional practice forward into a new and focused direction. And for this I really congratulate you. I think it is an enormous challenge. It stops us just looking at the way we've always done things or the way we feel comfortable doing things, but it also makes us much better professionals moving into the future and meeting some of the challenges that things like 4IR and all the other things present us with. Not just that. As individuals, professionals, getting involved in something like this takes us into a new place, and that I think is where we need to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Leila.
Thank you, Chair. We've actually now, at this conference, talked about this for the last 3 days. I'd like to move, according to our current constitution, 18.2, you need to give members at least 2 months' notice of a constitutional amendment. And your proposed structure falls under that ambit